Hey, it's Arrow with the Daily Mess, a chronological walk through an everyday world. 9/11 changed everything, including the way that we push our art and performances forward. I'm a daily writer. I document life and all that comes after. Although I talk about being mindfully present in what is now, man, I gotta step back sometimes, and I've gotta stare at the stained pages that were caused by the nib of my writing instrument. I think there's something there. We don't just experience life. We're supposed to be taking notes for a future that hits us so hard that many of us have become numb. This is the Daily Mess. The reason why I bring up 9/11 is because everything changed in my daily writing once 9/11 put its place in history. I was no longer writing spiritually. It was more about questioning more than finding answers. It was more questioning. And instead of finding a solution, it was more questioning. And it's like, how can I continue on with a show called The Daily Ray of Light if all I'm doing is spinning my wheels trying to figure out answers like everybody else in the world? We had a lot of questions, but nobody was providing answers. Today, I thought we would go back to September 18th, the year 2001. A piece titled, New Book to Write In, The Blame Game Begins. When you start a new journey, the eyes and soul must expect constant change. Intuition may lead you away from the danger, but it's ultimately up to your own sense of balance to keep you steady. The stock market took a major beating yesterday, the 14th worst in history. It's not that I'm afraid. I only wish Americans would have thought about the trees that they killed to build the homes that they can no longer afford. Okay. Let me point out here. Remember, this was written on September 18th, 2001, 1 week after September 11th changed the entire world. Now, at the end there, what he's using is what I call hidden speak to get his point across. Even though he's talking about how the stock market was experiencing its 14th worst day, right away the writer, the person in touch with what was going on in that present place of being in the now, he started thinking about everything that was included in the elements that make up our time. He says, it's not that I'm afraid. I only wish Americans would have thought more about the trees they killed to build the homes they can no longer afford. The economy was starting to crash. Nobody predicted that on September 11th. Things were changing so quickly and that we knew that something was going to happen, that if the economy continues to fall, then how will you afford the homes that we live in? Now, I'm blessed with the opportunity to have this beautiful forest here in South Charlotte, North Carolina, but I had to work to get this forest. We planted 1,700 trees in 1997. Not everybody has the room to plant trees, especially 1,700 trees. But my main concern there was, as people begin to lose their homes, their houses, has anybody thought about what was required in order to put that house on that plantation? I mean, think about this. There are trees outside this studio window for a reason, because I'm giving back to the land. I'm taking up enough space as a human being. It can take up its own space as nature. Learning how to become part of the elements around us. It doesn't require a huge tragedy in order for you to start making a bigger and better connection to everything that is around you. See, what we want is we want the perfect world. We want to be able to walk into a Home Depot or Lowe's and see that kitchen there. That's what I want in my house. And then when you get home and you start spilling food and cutting things up on the cutting board, and you know kids are just messing things up, or you bump into the cupboard and it kind of breaks off the hinge there. We don't want that anymore, because we want to lead that perfect life. But it doesn't exist. We have to understand that in order to have a process of real inner growth and inner peace, we got to accept that we're not perfect. Whoa, hold on. We're not perfect? What are you talking about? Let's go back to the beginning of that and forget that all of these words were attached somehow, some way to September 11th. This is the Daily Mess now. When you start a new journey, the eyes and soul must expect constant change. When you start your day, you should walk into it expecting change. I know it's hard to deal with, because nobody likes change, because we want that constant in our lives, that one thing where we can feel great about being in this place of now. Intuition may lead you away from danger, but it's ultimately up to your own sense of balance to keep you steady. Understanding that today may not go the way you want it to be, but you have that inner peace and that inner being that is saying, we've got this covered. I've got the confidence and I've got the courage. You know, the stock market is going to go up and down every single day, but man, we will let those news headlines infect us to the point where we just want to break. You can't do that anymore. Turn off the radio. No more talk radio. Turn off the 5 o'clock news on television. Maybe what you could do, with the way that flat screens are these days, put on your favorite songs. Or like what I do is I'll put on meditation music, just something soft playing in the background so you don't have to deal with what's going on around you. You should never be afraid. What you need to do is embrace the elements that are around you. Now, because I'm surrounded by trees, that's the one thing that I will always put focus on. What is around you at all times? And if things do go wrong, does anybody ever think about what was required in order for you to have that space on this planet? I'm Arrow, and that's The Daily Mess.